On the Iowa Cold Cases website, there's a very strange missing persons case. Jesse Govani Nimajapol was last seen on July 14th of 2017 in Denison, Iowa. He was 18 years old at the time, but no further information was provided. However, despite the lack of information regarding Jesse's case, there are some concerning details that have drawn some attention to the case. For example, Jesse's case is classified as an involuntary disappearance, meaning that he did not go missing of his own accord. Typically, when the authorities don't know what happened to a missing person, they classify the case as endangered missing. Next, you can find a bunch of aliases for Jesse on Namus, including Juan Carlos Sime Nimaja, Daryl Jamal Brown, and Reynaldo Alterio Colon. There are several more aliases that have been listed by the Denison Police Department. Why does Jesse have so many aliases? What's even more strange about Jesse is that there are numerous social media accounts under his name that were activated after his disappearance. Let's take a look at these accounts. This is one of the SoundCloud accounts, which is under the name Giovanni Pedro Nimajapol. All of the audio tracks are low-quality songs that are sung in Spanish, and the voice sounds like a young person. They all have the same title, Éxito Kids Jr., which means something along the lines of Successful Junior Kids. Some of the tracks also feature this rather odd photograph as the cover art, and it appears to be Jesse himself. There's another SoundCloud account under the name user571246770, which contains basically the same type of content. The cover art for the tracks on this account is this photograph, which doesn't look like Jesse. There are numerous YouTube channels listed as well, and these channels are even stranger than the SoundCloud accounts. One channel features more Éxito Kids Jr. videos, while another has videos and shorts that are all named for calendar dates and seem to show completely random home videos.
Measurements for when I win, because this is gonna be my room. This is gonna be my room. This is gonna be my room. I can't let brother have my room. This is gonna be my. Shut up, bro. I have guitar lessons in an hour. I don't know how to play the guitar. Can we switch back until it's over?
This channel has several videos featuring young men and boys dancing and singing, as well as a video with random stock footage interspersed with pictures of children.
Diciendo que yo soy poco para ti, ustedes están diciendo que yo soy poco para ti.
This channel only has one short and it doesn't make any sense to me. This next channel mostly has videos along the same lines as the one with young men and boys singing and dancing, but it also has a slideshow compilation of photographs featuring children. This channel has a video of a radio playing a religious hymn, and this last channel has more videos featuring children. There are several Twitter and Facebook accounts with seemingly random photographs, and one of the Twitter accounts has the following bio, which is translated from Spanish. I'm a model boy and singer-dancer. I am 13 years old. There's also an Instagram with some unsettling content. Finally, Jesse's TikTok account has 3 videos, 2 of which feature him staring at the camera, and the third showing 2 children. After this case made it into the spotlight, some internet sleuths were able to dig up some news articles about people who bear a striking resemblance to Jesse. A man named Pedro Nimajapol was arrested on June 12th of 2018 for uploading inappropriate images of children to Instagram. Even more images were discovered inside his home in Round Rock, San Antonio. Many people believe that this man is Jesse under an alias and that he is involved in child sex crimes. The social media accounts could very well be some kind of undercover communication system for people who share the same perversions. It's also important to note that the name Nimajapol is not very common, and it seems to be strictly Guatemalan. This adds further credibility to the theory that this man is actually Jesse. At the end of the day, however, nobody knows what's going on for certain. Whatever the case, something is clearly wrong with all of these accounts and the person or people behind them. I hope the authorities can discover the truth before long. Sharon Rena Denberg was born on September 20th of 1961, and she was raised by her parents in Baltimore, Maryland. According to her classmates, Sharon was considered normal. She played sports and participated in the school choir. Sharon graduated Pikesville High School in 1979, and she married a construction worker named Victor Lopatka in 1991. They relocated to a ranch-like tract house in Hampstead, Maryland. Sharon's parents did not approve of her marriage, and a former classmate described it as a way of breaking away. In 1995, Sharon started a career with online advertising from her home, and she was paid $50 per advertisement. She also managed several websites that distributed psychic readings. Although the psychic business was obviously a scam, it wasn't necessarily dangerous or harmful outside of taking gullible people's money. However, Sharon's career soon began to go down a much darker path. Sharon started marketing pornographic content under the alias Nancy Carlson, but the content she marketed wasn't normal. It depicted unconscious women who had been drugged or hypnotized, and she even sold her own undergarments on the side. She began frequenting chat rooms that were dedicated to sexual fetishes, including bondage and feet fetishes. She regularly engaged with fellow users who fantasized about things such as necrophilia and sadomasochism. Over 50 messages that Sharon had written were discovered by a newspaper, and these messages expressed her sexual desire to be tortured to death. When a sex workers' rights activist discovered Sharon's online activity, she confronted Sharon in a chat room, requesting that she stop expressing such harmful desires. Sharon replied, "I want the real thing. I did not ask for you preaching to me." At this point, it's important to introduce the other key player in this case. Robert Glass was a computer analyst for the government of Catawba County, North Carolina. He was married to a woman named Sherry for 14 years, but their marriage came to an end when Sherry logged onto Robert's email account. She found several emails that were described as raw, violent, and disturbing. They separated in May of 1996, and Robert first encountered Sharon in a chat room in August of that same year. The pair began exchanging emails in which Sharon expressed her fantasies of being tortured, and Robert replied that he would like to oblige her requests. On the morning of October 13th, 1996, Sharon told her husband that she was going to Georgia to meet with some acquaintances. She also left a note that said she would never return home, and that if my body is never retrieved, don't worry, know that I'm at peace. Sharon arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina on a train, and Robert picked her up in his truck. He drove them back to his rural mobile home in Lenoir, North Carolina. That same day, Sharon's husband found the note she had left, and he notified the police. They began an investigation, which uncovered more than 900 pages of emails between Sharon and Robert, in which Sharon explicitly asked Robert to torture her to death. The North Carolina police staked out Robert's home, but there was no sign of either him or Sharon. On October 25th, a search warrant was issued and the authorities entered the home. They discovered numerous items belonging to Sharon, as well as drug and bondage paraphernalia. There were also magazines that contained inappropriate images of children. Outside the home, there was a mound of soil which they dug up. Buried under the soil was Sharon's dead body. Robert was arrested at work and charged with first-degree murder. He faced additional charges for the many illicit items in his home. Robert pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and sexual exploitation, and he was sentenced to between 36 and 53 months in prison. A minor exploitation charge added 27 extra months to this sentence. According to Robert's testimony, he did kill Sharon, but it had been accidental. "I don't know how much I pulled the rope. I never wanted to kill her, but she ended up dead." The autopsy confirmed that Sharon had been strangled to death accidentally only 3 days after her arrival in North Carolina. Robert Glass was found dead from a heart attack in prison on February 20th of 2002, only 1 month before he was set to finish his state sentence and begin his federal sentence. This was the first case in history where the authorities used email correspondence as evidence in a trial. This is the website called Oct28 2011, or October 28, 2011. The website no longer exists, but you can view the site on the Wayback Machine. The website featured a dark screen with a few lines of text, and it attracted a lot of online attention. If you clicked a link, it would bring you to strange drawings of pyramids and Schrodinger's cat, and there was also a phone number that some curious web sleuths called. On the other line, they heard silence followed by a loud beep, and some people claimed that they heard heavy breathing. A few people reported that they heard muffled voices, and at least one person claimed to have heard something heavy being dragged across the floor. One person called the number 6 times, and they allegedly heard a sinister voice say, "It's him again." As a result of the eerie structure of the website, many people believed that it was a cult recruitment site. The page was fixated on the date October 28, 2011, as if something huge was supposed to happen on that particular day. Many people have theorized that the website was being run by a cult that believed the rapture would occur on October 28th of 2011. When that date came and went without any apocalyptic nonsense happening, the website remained active. That is, until Reddit users started getting involved. This is when the website suddenly shut down, and to this day, nobody knows who was behind it. Hopefully we can get some answers someday, but it seems very likely that this will remain a strange internet mystery forever. Click the join button to become a member today. Channel members receive exclusive content as well as early access to all my content. Susan Anton was born on March 3rd of 1967 in Mississippi, and she was one of 3 siblings. Her family were Southern Baptists in Mississippi, which is an extremely restrictive culture, and Susan rebelled against this culture by wearing different style clothes than her fellow Baptists. Her parents did not get along, with her father avoiding the home as much as possible. Susan was a daddy's girl, but she didn't get to spend as much time with him as she wanted. Susan's brother, Ronald, died in a car crash when she was young during a rainstorm. Her mother developed a trauma response to rain following this accident, and Susan was bullied in school as a result of her mother's meltdowns during rainstorms. Susan had violent reactions to this bullying, and the other girls in her class described her as weird, whereas the boys all seemed to find her attractive. After she graduated from high school, Susan attended a nearby junior college for several years where she participated in the performing arts. However, her major was pharmacology, which she hated, and she eventually transferred schools in order to pursue a career in the arts. During this time, Susan met a man named Marlon Brewer, and they got along very well. They ended up getting married and they moved away, but they eventually returned because Susan missed Delta State University and wasn't happy elsewhere. After moving back, Marlon worked strange hours while Susan studied for college. A man named Travis Anton was attending Delta State at the time, and he met Susan, with whom he hit it off. Unbeknownst to Marlon, Susan and Travis began having an affair, and when Marlon eventually found out, he was extremely hurt. He thought his wife genuinely loved him, but the affair and subsequent divorce proved otherwise. Almost immediately after this, Susan moved in with Travis, leaving Marlon behind and getting married to her new man. Travis's ex-wife, who was also named Susan, moved out shortly before Susan Anton moved in. Following this move, Susan became a sex slave. She managed a website called DeliaDay.com under her alias Delia Day, and the title of her work was My Illustrated Life as a Sex Slave. The website no longer exists, so don't bother searching for it. The website featured sexual images of Susan with writing by Travis, and it was presented as a sort of art project for fetishes. However, this strange line of work would come to an end on December 2nd of 2003 when Susan shot and killed Travis. According to Susan, their relationship had started out as healthy and she originally had a good level of independence, but Travis gradually became more and more controlling over time. She claimed that Travis began using her for increasingly painful and disturbing fetishes, including branding, cutting, and piercing. Susan claimed that she had killed Travis in self-defense. She was acquitted of his murder due to the extreme nature of the relationship. There were 10 years worth of posts on DeliaDay.com by the time of the murder, and they were growing increasingly more extreme. Some people have theorized that the reason for this was because Travis and Susan required more extreme content to maintain audience engagement with their posts. They were making an estimated $15,000 per month from their website, so there was undoubtedly a lot of pressure on them to keep upping the ante. At the end of the day, this case is equal parts disturbing and strange, and I don't recommend looking up the Delia Day posts for anyone who doesn't want to be weirded out.